Lisbon, 1924. A man sits in a prison cell for a crime that barely made the newspapers. 54 days. A technicality. Nobody remembers his name. By the time he walks free, he has already designed the largest financial fraud in the history of Europe. He does not plan to counterfeit money. Counterfeiting is for amateurs, men who forge ink and paper and hope nobody looks too closely. His plan is more elegant and more insane. He will forge a single contract, and he will use it to convince the exact same company that prints Portugal's real currency to print him more of it. Not fakes, not counterfeits. Genuine, legal tender Portuguese banknotes. Same paper, same ink, same government printing plates as the money already sitting in every citizen's pocket. Within a year, he will flood his country with an amount equal to nearly 1% of its entire national economy. He will almost buy the central bank itself. And when his empire finally collapses, it will help topple the government of Portugal. His name was Artur Alves Reis, and this is the story of the man who broke a country by printing its own money, legally. Reis was born in Lisbon in 1896, into a modest family. His father was an undertaker who ended up bankrupt. At 18, Reis quit his engineering degree after a single year to marry into a wealthier family that never quite accepted him. Humiliated, he made a decision. He would leave for the Portuguese colony of Angola, and he would return a success. There was only one problem. He had no education, no experience, and no connections. So, he invented all three. Reis forged himself an engineering diploma from a department that did not exist, the Polytechnic School of Engineering at Oxford University. The certificate claimed expertise in engineering, geology, physics, metallurgy, mathematics, even paleography. He had it formally notarized. Nobody in colonial Angola questioned a stamped document from Oxford. Within months, this man with zero real qualifications was running railway operations. His colleagues nicknamed him the Monkey Engineer, because somehow, despite knowing nothing, he made the trains run. He was 20 years old, and he had just discovered the only skill that mattered. Not what you know, but what people believe you know. By 1922, Reis was back in Lisbon, restless and short on money. He took control of an Angolan railway company using bad checks, exploiting the simple fact that a check took weeks to clear by sea mail. By the time the bank realized the funds weren't there, he'd already moved the money elsewhere. It worked, briefly. Then it collapsed. In July 1924, he was arrested for embezzlement. He served 54 days. The charge was quietly reduced to a technicality, and he walked free. But those 54 days changed everything. Sitting in that cell, Reis had nothing to do but think. So he studied the one subject that fascinated him most, the Bank of Portugal, and exactly how it issued the nation's currency. He learned something remarkable. The bank kept poor records of its own serial numbers. It rarely cross-checked how many notes were actually in circulation. And because Portugal had abandoned the gold standard decades earlier, printing new money cost the government almost nothing. No gold reserves required to back it. The system trusted itself completely. Reis realized he didn't need to break that system. He simply needed to convince it that he was already part of it. Reis drafted a fraudulent contract in the name of the Bank of Portugal, authorizing a loan to develop the colony of Angola, to be paid in new 500 escudo banknotes. He had it notarized by an assistant too casual to read it properly. Then he obtained additional certifications from the embassies of Britain, Germany, and France. Diplomatic staff who assumed official-looking paperwork required no scrutiny. For the signatures of the bank's actual governors, Reis didn't need to guess. He simply pulled real banknotes from his own pocket and traced their printed signatures by hand. Now he needed a printer. He approached German printing houses first. Rejected. Germany's hyperinflation crisis had destroyed their credibility. A Dutch firm turned him down as well, but that Dutch firm did something that would prove catastrophic. They gave his associate, a Dutch financier named Karel Marang, a personal introduction letter. To Sir William Waterlow, Managing Director of Waterlow & Sons, London, the exact company that printed every genuine banknote circulating in Portugal. Sir William Waterlow was cautious, but not cautious enough. He handled this confidential contract secretly, without informing his own board of directors. When he requested direct confirmation from the Bank of Portugal's governor, he agreed to route the letter through a diplomatically connected intermediary instead of sending it directly. That letter never reached the governor. It was intercepted and replaced with a forged confirmation, courtesy of Reis. Waterlow's own representative in Lisbon, a man named Henry Romer, sent written warnings that something was wrong. Sir William ignored every one of them. On the 6th of January, 1925, Waterlow signed the contract. Total printing fee, £1,500. Reis, working from serial numbers he'd personally studied on notes already in circulation, gave the printer numbering instructions and made a critical error. 90,000 of the 200,000 notes ultimately printed would carry numbers that duplicated currency already out in the world. He didn't know it yet, but he had just planted the one flaw that would eventually destroy him. On the 10th of February, 1925, the first shipment of freshly printed, entirely genuine Portuguese banknotes was delivered, in suitcases, at London's Ritz Hotel. Diplomatic bags carried them into Portugal. No customs official ever opened one. Reis now held roughly 100 million escudos in real currency that officially did not exist. He moved carefully. Associates deposited the notes across banks in multiple cities, establishing them as clean. Reis then withdrew confirmed, untraceable funds from those same accounts. He bought a Lisbon mansion for £10,000, a building that still stands today as the home of the British Council in Portugal. He acquired land. He lived the life of a self-made industrialist. In June 1925, he founded his own institution, the Bank of Angola and Metropole. Officially, it financed colonial trade. In reality, it laundered his fortune, issuing suspiciously generous loans at rates no legitimate bank could match. Then Reis attempted something audacious even by his own standards. He began quietly purchasing shares in the Bank of Portugal itself, the very institution he'd defrauded, hoping to gain enough influence to bury any future investigation before it could begin. He never gained full control, but for a while, rumors of forged notes began circulating anyway. In May 1925, the Bank of Portugal issued a public statement. They wanted to reassure the country. The notes, they announced with total confidence, were genuine. They were right. That was exactly the problem. For months, Reis's own mistake sat quietly inside bank vaults across Portugal, waiting to be found. In October 1925, a bank cashier noticed something odd. 2 Vasco da Gama banknotes, both flawlessly genuine, sharing the exact same serial number. Separately, a business rival, alarmed by the strange land acquisitions of Reis's new bank, had connections to a Lisbon newspaper, O Século. Journalists had already begun quietly investigating. On the 4th of December, a Bank of Portugal inspector was sent to Porto to examine suspicious deposits linked to Reis's institution. On the 5th of December 1925, O Século published the story that shattered the illusion. On the 6th, the government confiscated Reis's bank and issued arrest warrants for everyone involved. At that exact moment, Reis was at sea, returning from Angola to Portugal aboard the steamship Adolf Worman, alongside his associate, a German trader named Hennies. Word reached them before they docked. Arrest warrants were waiting. Hennies begged him to run, to disappear, the way their Dutch partner Karel Marang already had, a man who would never face a single charge and who would live out his remaining decades quietly and respectably in France. Reis refused. He insisted on returning to Lisbon to face what was coming directly. He was arrested within days. He was 28 years old. The trial took nearly 5 years to begin, partly because Reis's forgeries were so convincing that judges genuinely suspected real Bank of Portugal officials might have been involved. In 1930, he was finally convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Behind bars, he once tried to forge new documents, this time attempting to prove the Bank of Portugal itself had been complicit all along. When that failed, he attempted to take his own life. He survived. He was released in 1945. He died a decade later in poverty of a heart attack. Sir William Waterlow, the printer who ignored every warning sign, was quietly removed from leadership of his own company. He was later elected Mayor of London. Two men, the same catastrophic mistake, two entirely different endings. But the true cost of Reis's fraud was never measured in escudos. When the Bank of Portugal recalled every 500 escudo note within 20 days, the currency lost its credibility, and so, in the eyes of many Portuguese citizens, did their government. Historians still debate exactly how much this crisis of confidence weighed on what came next. But less than 6 months later, a military coup ended Portugal's first republic entirely, ushering in a dictatorship that would rule the country for nearly 50 years. Alves Reis never printed a single counterfeit note in his life. He simply understood something that every financial system depends on completely and protects the least: that trust, once extended, is rarely checked twice. He didn't break Portugal's money. He proved it was never truly guarded in the first place. Thank you for watching.